Okay, everybody. Okay. All right. So we're going to get started here. Little late. I was not feeling all that well today. Started a little late. Um, so today I wanted to talk to you about, um, I wanted to read some of the stories uh, of First Samuel. And I really wanted to read these and just go through them and then maybe give my opinions on some things that I thought or observed. So I wanted to start off in First Samuel 4. I may actually extend beyond the 4 or the 5 that I went to earlier. Um, so the title is, it starts off with the Philistines capturing the ark. And if anybody knows anything about Bible history, the enemies of the children of Israel, which were God's chosen people in the Bible, um, and in the Old Testament, were the Philistines. The Philistines were, I mean, they were they were, as a Chiefs fan, they were our Oakland Raiders. I mean, they were our biggest enemy, and they were the ones that were very pesky and didn't necessarily go away. So I'm going to start off with this crazy battle where the Philistines captured the ark, and it's very different because it was such a great loss for the children of Israel. Probably one of the strangest losses I think I've ever read in the Bible. And it's something I think that there may be some lessons in, or there may be some things to pay attention to. So I'm going to start reading. Now, when the Israelites went out to fight against the Philistines, the Israelites camped at Ebenezer and the Philistines at Aphek. The Philistines deployed their forces to meet Israel, and as the battle spread, Israel was defeated by the Philistines, who killed about 4,000 of them on the battlefield. So they took a major L right there. And when the soldiers returned to camp, the elders of Israel asked, "Why did the Lord bring defeat on us today before the Philistines? Let us bring the ark of the covenant of the Lord's covenant from Shiloh, so that he may go with us and save us from the hand of our enemies." Hmm. So in this battle, um, the Philistines destroyed the children of Israel, and the elders got the idea to bring the ark. Now, being as holy as the ark is, did God tell you to bring the ark? I mean, I usually think that that's a special weapon reserved for God, but the elders just thought, I guess, what they believed, that that's what will make them. They were trying to, in my opinion, when I read this first part, they were trying to force a victory after losing, right? They were trying to force a victory after losing and suffering a pretty good defeat. And when I listen to this, you were never told by the Lord to bring the ark. You wanted to win this battle so bad that you decided to do it yourself. And with that, I'm going to continue on with the story. So the people sent the men to Shiloh, and they brought back the ark of the covenant of the Lord Almighty, who is enthroned between the cherubim. And Eli's two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the ark of the covenant of God. When the ark of the Lord's covenant came into the camp, all Israel raised such a great shout that the ground shook. Hearing the uproar, the Philistines asked, "What's all this shouting in the Hebrew camp?" When they learned that the ark of the Lord had come into the camp, the Philistines were afraid. "A god has come into the camp," they said. "Oh no, nothing like this has happened before. We're doomed. Who will deliver us from the hands of these mighty gods?" They are the gods who struck the Egyptians with all kinds of plagues in the wilderness. Be strong, Philistines, be men, or you will be subject to the Hebrews as they have been to you. Be men and fight. So when I look at that, my analysis begins with reputation. They had heard about the ark before, and they confused the shouting with the ark, right? With God's power. They confused the noise, the loud noise, right, with the Lord's covenant. They confused it. They thought it was actually God. These people were trying to recreate miracles because they wanted to win this battle. They wanted to win this battle. The children of Israel and the elders decided to bring something they were never told out, a weapon they were never told to bring out to win this battle. Now, the Philistines, who understood the legacy of the ark and of the children of Israel, were scared from that reputation. Now, that just goes to show you how powerful in this situation that God is, because even their enemies knew about what they could do. Right? And the enemies were afraid of the ark, they were afraid of it. But yet, let's go to the next part. So the Philistines fought, and the Israelites were defeated, and every man fled to his tent. The slaughter was very great. Israel lost 30,000 foot soldiers. The ark of God was captured, and Eli's two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, died. Complete slaughter. And that to me is what happens when people ride off of legacy. When I see this, my questions are, what were the children of Israel's plans going into battle? Did you think that your poor planning and poor discipline was going to be forgiven because you decided to patch, I would consider, magic onto it? Because this is magic. You were not told to bring the Ark of the Covenant out to battle, but you probably thought that this is something that would win you the battle. You thought that the power of God was going to be able to uh, over or compensate for your discipline and poor planning. And you were riding off legacy. And the legacy worked. It worked for the other side. But your arrogance destroyed all of your men. That arrogance of riding on legacy is more dangerous than the actual defeat, because the first battle, from when I read this, 4,000 of them, they lost 4,000. But then they decided to stay with the ark, and then they lost 30,000. 30,000 foot soldiers lost. Mm-mm-mm. Well, we're going to go to the next part. That same day, a Benjaminite ran from the battle line and went to Shiloh with his clothes torn and dust on his head. When he arrived, there was Eli sitting on his chair by the side of the road, watching, because his heart feared for the ark of God. When the man entered the town and told what happened, the whole town sent up a cry. Eli heard the outcry and asked, "What is the meaning of this uproar?" The man hurried over to Eli, who was 98 years old and whose eyes had failed so he could not see. He told Eli, "I have just came from the battle line. I fled from it this very day." Eli asked, "What happened, my son?" The man who brought the news replied, "Israel fled before the Philistines, and the army has suffered heavy losses. Also, your two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, are dead, and the ark of God has been captured. When he mentioned the ark of God, Eli fell backward off his chair by the side of his gate. His neck was broken and he died. He was an old man and he was heavy. He had led Israel for 40 years. His daughter in law, the wife of Phinehas, was pregnant and near the time of delivery. When she heard the news that the ark of God had been captured and that her father in law and her husband were dead, she went into labor and gave birth, but was overcome by her labor pains. As she was dying, the women attended to her, saying, "Don't despair, you have given birth to a son." But she did not respond or pay attention. She named the boy Ichabod, saying, "The glory has departed from Israel," because the capture of the ark of God and the deaths of her father in law and husband. And she said, "The glory has departed from Israel, for the ark of God has been captured." So, massive losses everywhere. In a short period of time, you have your army or one part of your army completely destroyed. You have your leader out of pure shock, because he lost his sons. Now, my question is why. I know Eli was blind at the time, and this is just me being inquisitive. Why was Eli not consulted about bringing the ark to the battle? The elders made this decision. That's what it said. But this day is absolutely a disaster. But there are some lessons within this disaster, because this is probably one of the worst losses. And the Philistines, imagine that. We want to talk about people riding on legacy. We want to talk about lack of discipline, lack of preparation, arrogance. The Philistines, who were scared of the ark, after one battle, decided to just go ahead and take it. Were afraid no more. Now, the Philistines were determined. One of the verses I want to go back up to here that was very interesting to me is verse number 9. It said, "Be strong, Philistines, be men, or you will be subject to the Hebrews as they have been to you. Be men and fight." So the Philistines said, "We're going to fight because we don't want to be slaves to you." Now they know that the God that the children of Israel are serving is a mighty God. I mean, they were afraid of it, of the ark, but then they literally turned back around and said, we're not going to be slaves. We're not going to be subject to anybody. We'd rather just fight." So this right here is probably one of the worst losses they've suffered. So I'm going to go to the next chapter time. The ark in Ashad and Ekron. After the Philistines had captured the ark of God, they took it from Ebenezer to Ashdod. Then they carried the ark into Dagon's temple and set it beside Dagon. Wow, that's some real disrespect right there, man. That is some real disrespect. So Dagon, I think, is their god, right? That's their foreign god. They literally captured the ark, um, and then sat it beside Dagon. When the people of Ashdod rose early the next day, there was Dagon falling on his face before the ark of the Lord. So imagine that. They set up the ark next to their God, and the next day, the statue of their God falls over to worship the ark. God has such a sense of humor. They took Dagon and put him back in his place, but the following morning when they rose, Dagon had fallen on the ground before the ark of the Lord. His head and hands had been broken off and were lying on the threshold, and only his body remained. That is why, to this day, neither the priest of Dagon nor any others who enter Dagon's temple at Ashdod step on the threshold. Interesting. Interesting. The Lord's hands was heavy on the people of Ashdod and its vicinity. He brought them to devastation. He brought devastation on them and afflicted them with tumors. When the people of Ashdod saw what was happening, they said, "The ark of the God of Israel must not stay here with us, because his hand is heavy on us and and on Dagon our God." So they were, once again, these people were able to see the power of God by their affliction, right? And the things that were afflicted on them. So they called together all the rulers of the Philistines and asked them, "What should we do with the ark of the God of Israel?" They they answered, "Have the ark of God of Israel moved to Gath." So they moved the ark of the God of Israel. But after they had moved it, the Lord's hand was against that city, throwing it into great panic. He afflicted the people of the city, both young and old, with an outbreak of tumors. So they sent the ark of God to Ekron. As the ark of God it's funny, as the ark of God was entering Ekron, the people of Ekron called out. It's like they're playing hot potato here. It's like they don't want it, they pushed it somewhere else, and those people are like, "Oh no, don't bring that shit over here. We don't want those tumors either." Right? They have brought the ark of God of Israel around to us to kill us and our people. So they called together all the rulers of the Philistines and said, "Send the ark of God of Israel away. Let it go back to its own place, or it will kill us and our people." For death had filled the city with panic. God's hand was very heavy on it. Those who did not die were afflicted with tumors, and the outcry of the city went up to heaven. When the ark of the Lord had been in the Philistine territory 7 months, the Philistines called for the priests and the diviners and said, "What shall we do with the ark of the Lord? Tell us how we should send it back to its place." They answered, "If you return the ark of God to Israel, do not send it back to him without a gift. By all means, send a guilt offering to him. Then you will be healed, and you will know why his hand has not been lifted from you." Hmm? Hold on a second. Why is his hand not being? Okay. So once again, even their priests and the people who believed in their god, I think it was Dagon, um, Dagon, right? They they told them to send it back to Israel. They told it to send it back, not only send it back, but send it back with something else on it. Send it back with a guilt offering. And the Philistines asked, "What guilt offering should we send to him?" They replied, 5 gold tumors and 5 gold rats, according to the number of Philistine rulers, because the same plague has struck both you and your rulers. Make models of the tumors and the rats that are destroying the country, and give glory to Israel's God. Perhaps he will lift his hand from you and your gods and your land. Why do you why do you harden your hearts as the Egyptians and Pharaohs did? When Israel's God dealt with them harshly, did they not send the Israelites out so they can go on their way? Now then, get a new cart ready with 2 cows that have calved and have never been yoked. Hitch the cows to the cart, but take the calves away and pin them up. Take the ark of the Lord and put it on the cart, and in the chest beside it put the gold objects you were sending back as a guilt offering. Send it on its way, but keep watching it. If it goes up to the territory towards Beth Shemesh, then the Lord has brought great disaster on us. But if it does not, then we will know that it was not his hand struck up on us, but it happened to us by chance. So now they're trying to try the Lord, I guess, with how they're going to do this. So they did this. They took 2 such cows, hitched them to the cart, and pinned up their calves. They placed the ark of the Lord on the cart, along with the chest containing the gold rats and the models of the tumors. Then the cows went straight up towards Beth Shemesh, keeping on the road and lowing it all the way. They did not turn to the left or the right. The Philistines followed them as far as the borders of Bethshemesh. Now the people of Bethshemesh were harvesting wheat in the valley, and when they looked up, they saw the ark and rejoiced at the sight. The cart came to the field of Joshua at Bethshemesh, and there it stopped beside a large rock. The people chopped up the wood on the cart and sacrificed the cows as burnt offerings to the Lord. The Levites took down the ark of the Lord together with the chest containing the gold objects and placed them on the large rock. On that day, the people of Ben Shemesh offered burnt offerings and made sacrifices to the Lord. The five rulers of the Philistines saw all of this, and then they returned the same day to Ekron. These are the gold tumors the Philistines sent as a guilt offering to the Lord, one each for Ashdod, Gaza, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron. And the number of the gold rats was according to the Philistine towns belonging to the five rulers. The fortified towns with their country villages, the large rock on which the Levites set the ark of the Lord, is a witness to this day in the field of Joshua of Beth Shemesh. But the Lord struck down some of the inhabitants of Beth Shemesh, putting 70 ones to death because they looked into the ark of the Lord. The people that mourned because of the heavy blow the Lord had dealt them. And the people of Beth Shemesh asked, who can stand in the presence of the Lord? Who can stand in the presence of the Lord, this holy God? To whom will the ark go up from here? So when I read this story, and this is just my opinion completely, my understanding of this tale, right, and my understanding of the story in the Bible is that God always wins in the end. Not your armies, not your worldly powers, but God. And human beings at times and their plans are useless compared to the plans of the Lord. And I say that because when I think about this story, God used the losses of his people to teach the Philistines a lesson. The people of Israel, the children of Israel lost. The Philistines won, but God won both. Because notice how afraid the Philistines were in the beginning of even dealing with the ark. They were very afraid, even though they just won the battle. Then they beat the children of Israel. Then they took the ark. Then they passed the ark from city to city to city to city, infecting all of their people. So now their people, who may have been in other cities, not even connected to the military at all for the Philistines, now knew the power of God because of what was inflicted by them by their ruler's arrogance of even stealing the ark. So to me, this is a story of God showing his power even within the children of Israel's defeat. The reputation, the Philistines were fully aware of it. And it's funny because they even referenced the situation with Egypt. It's like, didn't you see what happened to the Egyptians? And now more of their people know because they were affected by rats and tumors. So it's not about your ego. It's not about your pride. It's not about your record. Because regardless of your record, regardless of your ego, regardless of your pride, God wins in the end. And it may not be something that you'll see on this world. All of his followers, look at what happened to his followers. Once again, I touch on this again in another video about what happened when people met Jesus. But Eli was the leader of Israel at that point in time. He fell off of his chair just due to the shock and died. Both of his sons died. Son of the Ichabod's mom died. The 40,000 foot soldiers died. But even in that crazy defeat of Israel, or excuse me, the children of Israel by the Philistines, God still got his glory. He got his glory through fear, which at times may be even more powerful than anybody's victory. The fact that you can live in somebody's head, the fact that the enemy fears your Lord's reputation. So, and then peep the trolling job by the Lord there. He completely trolled the Philistines. How about when you put the Ark of the Covenant in the temple, your God falls down before it. And then the next day you stand him up, then he falls down again. So God does have a trolling sense of humor. And that's what I take from this entire lesson. God trolled the Philistines by letting them have their victory, but then spreading sickness and disease even through their victory. So with that, I'm going to end this here. Interesting story. If you guys got anything else you want to see, just don't hesitate to reach out to me. I know the channel sucks. We're going to get some better production in the next upcoming weeks. So with that, I'm going to end this, and I will talk to you later.